Hey, Susie, have you ever wondered what the easiest, fastest, most rapid way to make a connection is?
Oh, I know if I stay right here, I'll find out more. I'm so glad you made the choice to be here today, especially because I have a good friend of mine, Alana Muller. She's a master negotiator with a passion to connect, inspire, and empower community. Wow, that's so good.
Thanks for having me. I'm delighted
Yeah.
to see you. Great to be with you today.
So tell us, what does that mean? What do you do for individuals? Tell us about your
Yeah.
superpower or your genius.
So, honestly, for me, relationships are the superpower, the ability to convene people, to make people feel comfortable, and to build relationships that are built on trust that really, I think, pay dividends over time for all parties.
And I love this topic. This aligns so well with negotiation because even though we don't think about it, the relationship is the core of building a great outcome and being collaborative and trusting. People want to do deals with people they trust. Know, like, and trust.
Know,
That's who
like,
they
and
want to
trust.
do
That's what
deals.
I always say. People want to do business with others who they know, like, and trust. And so I encourage people, be that person, be the person that others know, like, and trust. And, one of the things that I talk about, I think you and I have even talked about, is think about all the characteristics of the kinds of people you like to hang out with. And the
Mm.
thing is, this is not about fake it till you make it. It's
Mhm.
what is the very best version of yourself? Who are you? What are your great personality attributes? And then be that person. Be the person who's fun, funny, engaging, smart, optimistic, happy, controversial in some cases, right? So be the very best version of yourself, and then others will see that authenticity and will flock to you. They'll want to do business with you.
I think that's so powerful. And when you were saying that, I want to add to it is, and what value do I bring? What
Yeah.
value do I bring to the other party? Because so often we give more weight to the value of the other side. And so
Mm.
we hamper our negotiation, our difficult conversation, our crunchy conversation that we need to have because we don't think about our values. So I love that expressing what
Oh,
makes you
yeah.
uniquely you.
I'll never forget when I first started networking in earnest, really, really being intentional about building relationships. I remember that I realized, and maybe our listeners today already have this nailed, but that it's not about what have you done for me lately. It's what can I
Mhm.
do for you? What
Yeah.
can I do to be helpful to you? And while that may sound trite, what I find is that if you authentically ask that question, if you say, "What can I do to be helpful to you?" people are disarmed. They
Mhm.
think, wow, very few people ever ask me that. And then secondly, they feel special. You make them feel like there's
Mhm.
something that you genuinely want to do for them. And the thing is, you have to mean it. You have to be authentic. You have to actually in a genuine way want to be helpful. Sometimes you can't deliver that and you should be honest about it. But as you and I've discussed many, many times, this notion about trust, this ability to really connect at a level that says, I'm here for you. I
Mhm.
think that what ends up happening is that it goes both ways. That relationship really does become bi-directional, mutually beneficial to both parties.
I think that's a great practice to just add that at the end without any expectations, without even thinking,
Yeah.
because sometimes you think, I have nothing of value to give to them.
Mm,
Don't put that in
right.
your head and make that be something that keeps you from saying it. See
Right.
what comes from that. And I love the alignment too in negotiation too, understanding the interests of the other party or even saying, what's important to you to
Yes.
get out of this? Like, what
Yeah.
is that going to hurt? Put it
That's
out there.
exactly right. There's no more mystery. This is not
Yeah.
couched in mystery and intrigue. We know why we're getting together. That's why I often encourage people, if you're the one who's asked somebody in a networking capacity to get together, and what you really want is you want to fundraise for your favorite organization and you're selling tables for the gala, don't say, "Hey, I want to get together just to catch up." And then when you get together, it's like, "Oh, while I have you, I'm selling tables at the gala," because people will of course see right through that.
Yeah.
I always say, don't couch it in mystery and intrigue. Tell them what it is that you want.
Yep.
And the thing is, sometimes there's a transaction to be had, right? And
Yeah.
the answer may be no, but if you've built a trusting relationship, then they'll at least hear your request. They'll hear the sales
Mhm.
pitch or the opportunity that they're presenting to you.
I think that's so powerful. And it makes me think too that people don't like to say no. They
Right.
like connection, but they also don't like to. And so give them permission to say no, because a lot of times
Yeah.
the next time around, it's not no always, it's no sometimes, but we often
Yeah.
hear no always. And so it's a transaction. And then what can you give to them? What can you
Yeah.
and keep giving?
Absolutely. And I find that, again, it may sound trite, but the more we give, the so much more we get back. Right.
Oh,
And sometimes it really is just that listening ear. Maybe sometimes it's just the listen, and that people discover that, there's a relationship here, and that
mhm.
we may not always get that thing that we're seeking in the moment, but eventually it comes back around.
Yeah, and if you ask and you listen to understand, you will uncover more information than you had at the
100%.
beginning. Totally.
100%.
When we come back, let's talk about some examples of this, about making connection when it's been really powerful. So stay right where you are. It's me. Thought I'd tell you how excited I am about this collection of courses I have available. It's all around the concept of adopting a negotiator mindset. And the only way to do that is to really understand what it's like to be a negotiator so that you can practice it in your everyday. I'm excited about this project because it's going to allow people to do this on their own time and go through the course at their own pace. If you want to learn more, go to susietomanchuck.com. I'd love for you to check it out. Tell us a story from maybe a client that you've had where you've had an interaction, whether to you or somebody else, where you feel like it turned out well or maybe went a surprising way.
It's so ironic that you're asking this question. I just had a situation that I have to admit sort of was jarring at first. I was a little bit rattled. What happened was I had been working with a long-term client on a almost a year-long project. And it was complex, it was multifaceted, all the things. And I was really proud of the process. I was really proud of the different components along the way. Just recently, I presented my findings and my final recommendation. And Susie, it was rejected. It was
Oh,
rejected. And honestly, it's one of those moments where you feel your heart sort of drop. you know?
yeah.
It sort of first goes up into your throat and then down into your stomach. And it was one of those things where I was just like, oh, it kind of takes the wind out of your sails. But what was interesting about it in the context of talking about relationship building and negotiation is that they came back. They said that they disagreed with my final recommendation. They gave me reasons why they disagreed. And the truth is, I couldn't disagree with them. And what ultimately happened is we scheduled a follow up discussion. Additionally, I will say, probably because we've been working together for so many years, they thanked me. Like they said,
Mm,
we know that you want to get this right and we so appreciate you. And it was genuine. It was not, it wasn't
mhm.
said in a manner that there was nothing behind the, we know you want to get it right. They weren't leading the witness, so to speak. And really what happened is we came back, we talked it through. We sort of, I say we zhuzhed it up, right? We sort of fixed the response so that they were satisfied and I still felt happy and content with the final product. And honestly, it was a better product all the way around. And so it was a bit of a dance. It was a bit of a negotiation.
Mm.
And honestly, I feel a sense of call. I feel a sense that we are closer. I feel a sense that I'll probably get more business from this particular client. And I think that we all feel a sense of satisfaction that we actually wouldn't have had if they had simply accepted my original proposal.
Super interesting. So when you first said and they didn't agree,
Yeah.
what came to mind for me was that was a response that was unexpected. It was a surprise to you, which
Yes.
created this. What happens when we have this unexpected thing is it clouds our ability to think and we almost want
Mm.
to defend against it. So it seems like you were able to kind of make the space you needed to allow your cognitive agility to stay in the game.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, honestly, it was one of those things where I mean, you really do get the wind knocked out of you, right?
Yeah.
And I will say, I guess the good news for me is that the original communication was by email, so it gave me a moment to
Hmm.
recuperate. I didn't respond like immediately and I didn't respond thankfully in a defensive manner,
Yep.
which I think we all are prone to do from time to time. And yet, I think because they were they were kind but direct and candid in their feedback, and I was able to recuperate and respond in a manner that sort of I didn't try to overly justify my
Yep.
pitch. I defended my recommendation only in terms of the facts and the information that I had.
That's so good. And just to dissect again, like when that happened to you, it's nice that it was offline. And I love what you said too, because the language I put around that is something that was low stakes for you became high stakes with that response of that email. And when
Yeah.
we can identify, oh my gosh, this has become high stakes, all of a sudden, it's an emotional response. So our tendency is to jump right back in. And I love how you said from time to time we feel that. I think more than just from time to time that happens when you said that. I'm like, no, no, all the time.
All the time. Fight or flight,
Yes,
fight
fight
or
or
flight.
flight. Applying space, adding space, and not responding allows us to get back to an objective place that allowed you to look at it. And you said it so great. Looked at the facts and just regrounded yourself to take a different seat at the table so you could see it from a different angle.
Yeah, no,
That,
I feel proud of it, and I feel proud of the
yeah.
way kind of we all responded. And to your earlier point, I don't think that we could have gotten there without trust.
Yeah.
They trusted that I wanted to do what was right, that I cared
Mhm.
about as much as they did. It's not my company, it's their company,
Yeah.
but I really care because I really know them, and I know them as an organization, and I know them as individuals, and I think that that was a game changer. We care about each other. Not only do I want to get it right from a reputational perspective, but I want to get it right because I want to get it right for them. I think that this final output is important to their business, and that's important to me.
Trust is so important, and we often don't use that word as it relates to negotiation because we feel like those two are in separate buildings, if you will,
Yeah,
trust and
little at
negotiation.
odds.
Like, no, yeah. But it really is to think about, like I like to tell people, if you don't have a relationship with the person that's in front of you, take some time, even a few
Yeah.
minutes to make a connection. Even if you ask somebody something about them personally, they're 6 times more likely to do something for you. And so, like, really building that relationship doesn't take a lot of time, but it's important to think about that trust level and what you need to do to move in. And I'd love to talk about that when we're going to leave our listeners with a few tips today. Do you want to take it from how to make connection, how to build trust? How do you want to take the tips?
Yeah, what we'll do is let's talk about ways that people can sort of instantly establish that kind of rapport and what it's going to take to build a client base or a relationship base that matters.
I love that because that's a part of prepare before you go into a high stakes situation is what are you going to do to get ready? So, I'm excited to hear your tips. I'm going to see which one I'm going to take on and myself. So,
Can't wait. Can't wait.
that stay right here. You don't want to miss it. Hey, Susie here. Thought I'd pop in. I wanted to let you know I've been an executive coach for over a decade. I work with executives and they call me their silent partner because I help them increase their confidence when they're facing really difficult decisions. If you'd like to see if we're a good fit, head over to susietalmanchuck.com and fill out an application. I'd love to hear from you. Alana, I'm super excited for your tip. So what's your first tip?
My first tip, if I were to sum it up in one word, would be prepare. Prepare.
Mm,
Let's say I've convinced you. You are now a master networker yourself. You're going to get out there and start connecting with people. I think that it requires a little bit of preparation. And so, a couple of things that people can do. One, make a list of people you already know, people already in your relationship base who you want to reconnect with. And frankly, it could be somebody you saw this morning at the gym. It could be your dear old Aunt Sally that you haven't seen in 200 years. Or it could be, a former colleague, a friend, a college roommate, a professor, a coach, anybody who you want to reconnect with for whatever reason. But make a list, pick 5 people. I know you know thousands of people, pick 5 and then commit to reconnecting with them. So
mm,
that's part of preparation. Another list is the list of people you don't know but would like to. And
mhm,
by the way, this is a similar list, but a little bit more difficult to make because you don't know who you don't know. And
mhm,
yet, if you start to think about, I want to meet so and so, I want to meet somebody at the local animal shelter because I want to get involved in the community, or I want to meet my local representative because I want to make a change in the neighborhood. It's important to know the types of people you want to connect with. And by the way, if you tell people on list number one that you want to meet the people on list number two, they'll help you get there. A little preparation goes a long way.
I love that because preparation is the only way you can be successful in a negotiation, but it's also for connection. Connection
Yes.
can happen by accident, but when you're really intentional about it, I loved your second point around that. Though that second list, it doesn't have to be exact to the person. It can be in a category. And then when
Yes.
you to have those connections with the people you love or the people that you have a deep relationship with, you can tell them that and that can make those lines into those other areas.
100%. They will help you forge those alliances. And by the way, one other aspect of preparation is question asking, being prepared with a
Mhm.
list of questions, big open ended questions. I think that's useful in negotiations. It's
Yep.
important in relationship building. I think it's just important in life to be curious.
And having those questions are so good. All right, tip number 2.
Tip number two is all about body language. I think that we are all walking around with our very best tool. We all have this toolkit that we're carrying around. And the number one tip I have is your best tool is your smile. Your smile is the welcome mat for building relationships. If
Yeah.
you smile at somebody, it says, hello, I'm open to connecting with you. And it doesn't have to be weird or creepy or leery. It's simply hello. It's sort of the sign that says, I'm open to building connections. And if you see a smile, you know that somebody is open to receiving you.
It makes me smile just because we know that that connection just brightens somebody's day. When we get in our head and we get thinking so much, that creates this dead face. And so just having this remembering, even if it's a soft smile, it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
real big teethy, but just a soft smile can just show that there is that connection. It kind of takes that wall down.
It does. I think it, as you said, it sort of softens the mood. It softens the moment, especially if things have gotten tense. It
Yeah.
just sort of it makes it a little more human, right?
Yeah.
It shows your humanity. It shows that I'm just a person. I've got my agenda. You've got yours, but we're both people. And
Yep.
so I think to humanize it actually helps a lot.
Okay. Tip number 3.
Tip number three, say thank you. You just do what your mama always taught you. You say thank you. We all think that we're saying thank you. We all think we do. Very rarely do we actually do that. My very best favorite way to say thank you is to do this, to engage in this ancient art form that has been lost over time. But it was once known as the handwritten thank you note. And I still think that there's something very special about that. So
Yeah.
I don't care what people's handwriting looks like, saying thank you in a handwritten letter shows that extra sort of that little extra umph that says, I really care about you. You matter to me. And I really appreciate whatever this thing is that you did for me.
And it's memorable because it is such ancient history that people just don't get it anymore. So
That's
they
so true.
remember you. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? People don't throw away handwritten correspondence.
Mhm.
I know there's somebody listening today who says, nope, I read them and toss them. But you know what? Most people don't throw away handwritten correspondence or it sits on their desk for at least 3 weeks before
Yeah,
it finally makes its way to the trash bin.
that's fair.
And frankly, a lot of people will tack it to their bulletin board or tape it to the refrigerator and then it's art and it's never coming down.
Oh, that's so good. I love that one. All right. So what are the 3 again?
3 tips: prepare, mind your body language. I like a smile for that. And
Yeah.
the third one, say thank you.
Oh, so good. So good. All right. So when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what we can shift, stop, start, and to continue. Because as you're a coach too, I always like to remind people we can have this conversation here, but unless you think about how you're going to shift you, nothing's going to change unless you do it. So we'll be right back. Hi, Susie here. One of the things that I love is I facilitate team conversations, whether it's talking about high stakes, how to advocate for one another. So if you're a leader and you want to bring your team together, you want to level them up, help them really bond together and increase their confidence as a whole, contact me. Go to susietomachuk.com, tell me a little bit about your team, and I'll be in touch. This is where we talk about what are we going to stop, start, and continue, because in order to do something, you have to make a commitment. So what are you going to stop doing?
What I'm gonna stop doing is I'm gonna stop thinking that no means no forever,
Hmm.
right? So if I ask for something and I get a no, it's not no forever. It's just no right now.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm gonna totally draft on that one for you because for me, because I think that I always think, oh, they don't want to. And always hearing like no is not always no. It's subtle. It can be subtle. So
Yeah.
not get lulled into that. All right, what are you gonna start
Yeah.
doing?
One thing that I've learned from you over the years and that I still need to do a better job of is I need to start realizing that in negotiations or in tense moments or in times of challenge where tensions are riding high, I need to continue to humanize the other side, to
Mm,
recognize that they're
yeah.
not a bad person. They just have a different perspective.
Yes.
And that I need to do a better job of sort of acknowledging or respecting their perspective.
Ooh, that is so good. It's hard to do, but it's really, really good. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna draft off of what you said about making a list of categories of people you want to know. I've not really
Mm.
thought about that before, but I can see the power of just putting that out there, and you will just naturally find those connections. So I'm gonna start doing that. And then what are you gonna continue doing?
Oh, building meaningful relationships.
Yeah,
I think that as we talked about, relationship building is a series of touch points over time. And as we have those touch points, we're building trust, we're building familiarity, and it makes those tough moments or those moments where a transaction is necessary a lot easier and a lot more trust based.
yeah, I love that. You're for me. I'm gonna continue. I like in public to have a smile or to acknowledge. Like I always think that we often think really good things about the person in front of us, but they if we don't say anything, they think we're judging them. And
Yeah.
so taking the time to make that connection with people, I think is something that I just will continue to do, even if it bugs people that don't want to be bothered by this strange woman. I'm gonna do it.
Good. You should.
It's my continue, not
That's
yours.
right.
Oh, this was so good. I how can people know how can people find you? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah. So coffee, lunch, coffee, what I do is I train people to build better, more meaningful professional relationships through networking. You can visit me at coffeelunchcoffee.com. I have a weekly blog at blog.coffeelunchcoffee.com. And I would love for people to join the Coffee Lunch Coffee community.
I love it. Well, I'm so glad you were here. Thank you for giving this connection. Connection is so important in negotiation in our professional lives, in our personal lives, and everything we do. And building that network is so important that we do intentionally. So I love your wisdom here. I appreciate you being here. And don't forget, negotiation is more than a skill, it's a mindset. So stick with it until next time.